Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Luis and video 4 on how I built an LLM powered system for my content publishing. In this video, I'm going to talk about prompt engineering for content generations. This is uh, the way I approached using the prompt, and we're looking right now. I'm sharing my screen for the generate lambda, the actual prompt that I'm using to take the content that I've fed to it so that it can generate the content that I need, right? So again, big blue arrow as to what's happening. Write everything down as far as all the ideas of what I want to publish. Then I batch record, batch edit, and then I need all of that to generate a blog post, a YouTube description, and a LinkedIn post. I record all this on my computer, upload it to Riverside, or sometimes I'd record right on Riverside, depending on the complexities of what I'm doing. And I export the video file out of Riverside. Then I also export the transcript for that video. And Riverside provides show notes. So I typically export those as well. When I export those 3 files, I drop them in to my S3 via Mountain Duck, which is mounts S3 on my computer. That triggers the Lambda to ingest it into DynamoDB. And now I find myself here now having to generate that. Now, big takeaway of what all those files needs. I don't need the video to generate the content that I need. However, I do need the transcript. The transcript is really the heavy lift. But I include the show notes because the nice thing that Riverside provides is in the export, it gives tags, it gives chapter spots. So I figured that including that for the generate lambda will only make the end products that much better because it's not just purely the transcript. The reason I'm doing all this is because I don't completely trust AI. So I wanted to have as much information as I can and then limit it to repurposing that information per the instructions I give it. And that's what we're going to walk through here is what are the instructions that I'm giving it to do? So I'm telling it, I am going to give you 2 files, show notes, and a full transcript. And I want you to generate 3 different outputs. One is a ghost post, one is a YouTube description, and the last is a LinkedIn post. And I tell it what I want those format of those. I want Markdown for the ghost post. I want text for the YouTube description and text for the LinkedIn post. So this is want structured output. I want it to be immediately usable downrange, which is why I've chosen the formats that I have. But I stayed away from JSON, and you can see here, I actually explicitly tell it, do not use JSON, do not include extra commentary, and do not add code fences. This is to be able to not complicate my life down the road, in the sense that when I use JSON, I would have to parse that JSON. I would have to parse that JSON even for me to review the outputs, because I have to review the outputs to approve them. So I want it as simple as a format as I can. Text is always great for YouTube and for LinkedIn. For the Ghost post, Ghost accepts Markdown. So Markdown is perfect to send down to there. So further in this prompt, I'm very descriptive as to what I want this LLM to do. For the Ghost post requirements, I tell you, hey, this is the structure. I want you to give an overview, 3 big ideas, say the why it matters, how to apply it, key takeaways, and optionally can include any transcript highlights. I want the length to be 800 to 1500 words. Style, it's got to be clear and polished Markdown, and end it with a call to action. So that I'm telling it, I'm giving it a standard and a metric for it to aim to give me something. Now, for the next part is the YouTube description. I know YouTube has a 5,000 character limit, not a word limit, a character limit. So LLM needs to generate no more than 5-character YouTube description that abides with this prompt. I want it to be comprehensive, detailed, start with a 2 to 3 sentence hook, include a detailed overview of all main topics, list key insights, include timestamps, weave in SEO words. You got to include that in there so all this is discoverable. Use line breaks. Don't use emojis or icons. That is a huge pet peeve of mine with LLMs. They throw in all these emojis. That's not how I write. I consider them unprofessional. So I don't want it to use that. And then with a strong CTA. And then I give it an important to make sure that it verifies this. And lastly, for the LinkedIn post requirements, I tell it, hey, I want 3 to 5 punchy sentences, no markdowns, no emojis, and include a call to action. All this then gets wrapped up. It's going to generate 3 files: the post, the YouTube description, and the requirements. Now, the LLM itself is not doing that. It's going to structure it in such a way so that the Lambda generates those three, and the limiter or divider are these equal signs. So it knows from this point to this point, that is where it needs to break and create the new file. So that kind of wraps up the prompt engineering as to why it looks the way it does. One big takeaway from this, when I first did this, it was part of my CDK. It still is part of my CDK, but I did something very different, which is it is now going to parameter store. So after I got the prompt to kind of where it is right now, I realized, hey, if anytime I need to update this prompt, I've got to redeploy the CDK and update this whole stack, all because of something that potentially can change rather regularly. I didn't want to do that. I don't deploying the platform is something that I think it needs to be something because you have a substantial change. Yes, we do have to iterate in the beginning, but for this, I was like, I just need to be able to update this without a whole lot of fuss. So that's why now what's happening is the CDK publishes this to Parameter Store, which is an AWS service. It's part of the AWS construct, and I can actually update the prompt within Parameter Store without having to worry about going in here and updating here and then deploying. One risk with that is that I do have drift because I can update parameter store. If I don't come back and update this prompt, all of this will be lost if I ever have to redeploy this stack. So something I just have to keep in mind as I make changes in the future, but at least in the actionable short term, I can take care of that. And nothing says that I can go ahead and write another Lambda and go say, hey, every month, go check parameter store, see if there's a delta between the what's in parameter store and what's in your default CDK and update the CDK. I could do that as well, right? So this is where the prompt is. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. The next one is we're going to look at how I chose the right model for my use case, and that's the right LLM model. So I will see you there. Thank you.